Reality is that if you are really into houseplants, you probably I mean, it's like levels, but think about cooking, like when you're baking. You're like, okay, I feel good enough to open a pre-made mix of like muffins or pancakes, and you just like open the bag and probably add water, and it's ready. Now, if you are like real baking, then you have flour and you have baking soda and like sugar and all of the elements by itself, and you should be able, or like if you are like really pro or like into it, you would be able to make your own blends in order to adapt to whatever you are baking. So analogies in the houseplant world, if you're really into houseplants, I strongly suggest you to maybe start getting some of the elements by itself. So instead of having like to use the all-purpose, you would be able to change a little bit the qualities and performance of the substrate that you're using. So, for example, a potting mix will be pretty much a like equal parts of peat moss, perlite, and sometimes some vermiculite, and then you have the organic matter aspect of it. In easy words, every time that we have soil, we have organic side and inorganic or mineral. Uh, you want to find the perfect balance for each specific plant. So some plants will need a lot of organic matter in order for them to grow, usually annual plants or things in your garden. House plants, in the other hand, if you put like a lot of compost on it and a lot of like organic matter, you will have a very rich soil in your pot, and then you'll start seeing flies and fungus and mushrooms and bacteria growing out of there, and you probably don't want to deal with any of those things. Instead, you want something a little bit more mineral, not that alive, but like more mineral, that it will not give you like a hard time with that, and then you supply the rest of the whatever minerals you want by getting the artificially made, fertilizers. So let's go back to the plants that we talk, and I'll start just with the orchids, just because it's kind of like a whole different thing. Um, a lot of people that likes to grow orchids, you usually find them around this time all over the place, and there's many reasons on why you will find them with a lot of sphagnum moss that looks like this. This is a very special substrate, pretty much unique for the elements that come from plants that usually grow on top of trees, like bromeliads and orchids and some aroids, meaning some philodendrons. And so this medium, it's an amazing thing for collecting water. So like I read once, it can collect like kind of like 7 times or maybe more actually, times their weight in water. So this is what you find when you go up north in those peat moss, um, like big lakes, and in Canada they're very well known for harvesting their own. It's a very important, like if you are like in the environment aspect of the world, or like of things, this is not very sustainable in time, because you're actually taking it from out there, and it takes many years to grow from a very susceptible environment. So keep an eye on like how much you use this element, because it's something that we should be respecting a little bit more, just because it comes from like natural sources, and it's not like it's something that you can just take it and throw it. Anyway, we're talking about orchids. There's a lot of reasons why growers and when you go buy like plants online, you will find these Absolutely, orchids planted only on that, and this is because this is super light, super light, and it holds water like crazy. Reality is, orchids don't like to be wet all the time. Um, so it can be too much. And I always suggest, like as soon as they are done blooming, right now we have an oncidium, and these are so pretty. To me, they looks like ladies holding their dresses. They're so cute. Um, I always suggest as soon as they are done blooming, repot them. And when you repot them, you go and grab a orchid mix that is mainly charcoal and bark and perlite. So all thing, and of course it has a little bit of these to hold some moisture, but they need the right proportion of all of those things in order for them to like grow the roots. That sometimes they get so soggy when they're only in that long fiber moss. So you want some bark there, and think about where plants come from. In a tree, you have the bark. And so that's why you want it in the soil. They will feed out of the bark that is breaking down, and the plant will like attach to that. So that's good for orchids. Now, if you are really into the houseplant world, you will start seeing all of these aeroids. These are super trendy plants. Today we'll be actually planting a monstera. Philodendrons are in these, or anthuriums, and like these beautiful red flowers. And they actually also live on top of trees. So bark, it's always a very nice element to add to your mix. So for example, today we'll be using a mix that we made ourselves. So this is all-purpose mix. And then on top of that, we will put some bark, whatever you can find available will be good. Usually pine or different cedar, but anything that has bark on it. And then we put some charcoal and perlite. So again, it's a matter of investigating out there online. There's a lot of information on what's the right medium for the plant, or we can always help you here to make into your pot, and that way you will be set for success. So that's with orchids. Hoyas that are super trendy, and we all love Hoyas, are also an element that we have seen, and we are all learning in the way on how they don't like to be sitting in water all the time. And actually, we have read and we have seen that they can be in the same pot for the longest time. So you can put some charcoal or some bark in that all-purpose mix, and that will be a really good element to it. If you are really like into Hoyas or into the plants, you will be able to find even more substrate options out there. And I'm talking about like vermiculite, that we have some that it's like, oh, actually we haven't talked about perlite at all. Perlite, it's present in it's a member of all of these premix mediums. And perlite, it's sand that has been puffed like in a little oven, like popcorn. So that has been put, like it's sand, like volcanic sand, and that has been in an oven with a lot of pressure and a lot of temperatures, and puff. So again, this is super light, and what it is, it's how in nature stones or gravel help with infiltration in a pot. That's what perlite is doing in a medium. By having it, you have like a little pebble, a little rock there that it will allow the water to go down really quick. Peat moss, in the other hand, is this moss breaking down and right, like kind of like all like crushed, and that has the same characteristics than these, meaning they can hold a lot of moisture, and at the same time it's very light. So those two by itself, really good, but it's all mineral. They have no way to like provide, like it's not alive, so they are not providing any sort of minerals to the plant. And then vermiculite is a really good element to hold water. It's a little rock that has like channels on it, and it collects water. So when we talk about ferns, we said before that they would like to have a lot of, or like collect a lot of moisture in the medium. So when you look at the roots, you'll always be able to see a lot of roots, and the medium needs to be able to collect a lot of water. So as we talk, it will have a lot of peat moss. And by the other hand, with succulents, you want to keep them dry. And because of the same, you wanna put a lot of perlite or sand, and that will go down the medium. So that will definitely help with that. So